everybody. Welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. This week, we are going to Acadiana. That's right. We're going to the Acadiana Renaissance Festival, sitting here with Victor Boudreaux, talking about how things got started, where they're headed, and what they are doing to historically preserve our culture and our heritage here in the great state of Louisiana. Fantastic episode up ahead. Hope y'all enjoy it. Hope you can make it out to the festival with the remaining weekends this year, and look forward to the ones upcoming next year. Without further ado, thank you to the folks that bring you this show each and every week, Falaya Real Estate and Lakeman's Health Center. And y'all, enjoy the show. How did you get into this role within the Renaissance?
So the scenario with the Renaissance is so it was a group of friends. So I played, at the time I was playing Magic trading card game, and then we would also play D&D from time to time. And so it's just a big group of friends. One of them owned a card shop, and so we'd all cut up, have a good time, and then it came to a point where they started talking about Renaissance fairs. Well, me and my wife didn't have any kids, and so we traveled a lot. It was just up and travel. And so a friend of ours, really good friend of ours, got us into Renaissance fairs years ago, and so we started going all over, going to different Renaissance fairs, cutting up and having a good time. And then they decided they wanted to build a Renaissance fair. And so initially I was just supporting. I wasn't a part of it. It was three people, three of my good friends. And so they start working on it. And my wife wanted to do a ferry area at it, and they had woods. So we went out, we cleared a trail through the ferry area, and got it all taken care of. And then it was on one of theirs property. They had 30-acre hayfield. And so we started, got it all set up. Opening weekend starts. People start coming out. It's like any other business. You encounter problems. And so it was going well enough for our new business, but the relationships were a little rocky because of the new business, because it's just a lot to learn out the gate. And so I saw that when I was there. So I talked to all three of them. I'm like, look, we could work on this. So we'll let's meet at Waffle House in the morning,
Where all best decisions are made.
and we'll talk about it before fair started on Sunday.
Right.
And yeah, so we get there, me and my wife get there, and we set the time, and we showed up on time, and I could tell they had already been there. They had coffee, and I'm like, okay, maybe they started working on the issues. And so we sit down, and so before we start the little impromptu, because I was just going to mediate it. That's all it was, because I wasn't, again, a part of it. I was just helping. And they all unanimously asked us to join as a partner, because of what we did the day before, pulling them all together and keeping them together. And so then we joined in. So then there were four of us. And so then we kept that. So every weekend on Sunday morning, we'd go back to Waffle House, and anything that happened in between that we had issues with, we would talk it out amongst everybody and come to a fix. And so we did that. And then at the end of the season, one of the four just decided it wasn't a fit for him. After living it, he decided it just wasn't a fit for him, so he backed out. So then it went down to 3. We learned everything, regrouped. Unfortunately, because it was temporary property, it was a hayfield, we couldn't do any upgrades to it. So it was what it was.
Right.
Whenever it got a little tore up or it got real rainy, there wasn't much drainage we could do. So it turned out to be more of a mud thing. And so flash forward to the second year, there were some issues going into second year with one of the partners. Life, I mean, it gets a hold of you. And so we talked about it. pretty rigorous, and came to a conclusion that after he would like to stay in through the second season just to make sure everything went well, and then he was going to back out after, leaving us with just 2 partners. And so we rolled into second season, and had second season. It was better. It grew, but the situation got worse for the mud, for the rain, that time of year in the winter. And so we were like, okay, well, we need property because we have to get to a place where we can do renovations. Not only that, but we wanted to build permanent structures as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, so the first 2 years, you kind of proved your concept that people want it.
Correct.
And now you're like, you're buying a tract of land to do this is not going by a half-acre house.
Correct.
This is serious.
Yeah, because I did a lot of research on Renaissance fairs, and I talked to several owners and stuff for Renaissance fairs in other states. And what was the biggest thing that they regretted out of the process? And their biggest regret was land, because they had the vision to build the Renaissance fair and where they wanted to go with it. The thing was that they didn't realize was the amount of land they needed. And so they all bought 30, 40 acres, and then they started there, and it worked out really well. But, 10 years down the road, when they scaled up to that point of view, they needed 30 acres just for parking.
It takes that much?
Yeah, because cars aren't small.
Right.
And you talk about getting 1,000 people through your gate. If you average 2-3 people per car, you're still talking 500 plus cars. So one of their trick advices was for every acre of fair you have the same acreage of parking.
Okay.
And so our goal, looking at it in the future, is to have a 30-acre fair. So if I have 30 acres of fair, I need 30 acres of parking. So we're at 60. A second thing, a couple fairs, even to this day, they're over 20 years old. There's no camping. They don't have place. And so you run into an issue where a lot of your vendors that come in from all over the United States, as well as local, need a place to stay. And so we took into consideration camping. Whereas, a good average camp, I'd say, for the amount of vendors we can have, because when you scale up Renaissance fairs, you can get up to north of 200 vendors.
Okay. So let's walk through like the setup of the Renaissance.
So setup as it sits right now is we have, so to contend with everything, you have your vendors who come in and vend. You have your entertainers who we pay to come in and entertain. They're themed entertainers. And so as we move forward with the fair, we will have more theme. And so like right now we have great bands that come and play. But as the fair grows, each weekend is going to get better themed entertainers. Okay. Some of your best themed entertainers cost quite a bit of money because a lot of them are not local to you. They're coming from multiple states across. In some cases, if they have all their instruments and stuff, they can't fly with them, so they have to drive them. So it traditionally costs. And that's just the bands. When you get to a little bit bigger, you can go full on jousting, which is your maximum. And so, you're talking full horses, gear, everything, and it's legitimate live jousting. So these guys can get very hurt doing what they're doing. There are some fairs I have heard that allow patrons, if they sign proper things, to actually play along with it. And the last story I had heard from one guy at one fair was after he was, well intoxicated, the story came up, and he decided he wanted to do jousting, and so he went sign up for it and all that stuff, and he signed everything. And the head guy was like, all right, look, this is what's going to happen. The horses know what to do already. Mm-hmm. So you just hang on. They're going to go. You just tap them and they'll start running. Here's your jousting pole and your lance, and try and hit on my shield. Now, he says, I'm going to tell you, if I hit on your shield in the center, let your pole go. Because if you don't, it's going to pole vault you off your horse. Because I'm 3 times your size.
Right.
And so he goes, well, okay, I got you. He goes, but
I'm going to hit your shield. You're not going to hit mine.
That was his premise, was that he was going to hit his. And, you know, of course, the guy who told him that was his profession.
Right.
And so he also had a little to drink. And so he goes, I got this. And so they line up. And I mean, he's aiming dead for his shield, and he gets right on his shield. And the guy who's, you know, his profession gets him on the shield too. So he's supposed to let his lance go so that he doesn't pole vault. He didn't. He held onto his stick, and he proceeded and got pole vaulted 30 feet off his horse and landed on his back. And he puts his mark down, and he goes, and that was the end of my career of jousting.
one
and done. But yeah, but to get to jousting, we have to build an arena for that, you know. So it's kind of like when you go to like the where you see racehorses at the casinos and stuff, you have to prep that ground, because if you have anything hard in the mix of all that, the horses can break their legs.
Right.
And so unfortunately, it's not as easy as we are to fix a broken leg. In many cases, it results in them having to be put down. So so we have to spend a lot of money to get the ground prepped, build an arena for seating, and then we have to hire them to come in with the horses to do it. So that's top tier. So we're looking at getting there within the next 5-6 years, hopefully, where we can get jousters. But yeah, I mean, that's entertainment pieces. And then we have your vendors. You know, a lot of your vendors are, so the way we work with vendors out in the fair is local as much as possible, handcrafted as much as possible. So we have it to where if you handcraft your wares, you get the best price to vend.
So they're coming in and paying to come vend on your property.
Correct.
Okay.
And so your vendor, so like for instance, if you are 100% handcrafted vendor and you want to vend for all 5 weekends, just 10 days, we charge you $30 a day.
Okay. That's not.
Yeah. So $300. We try and keep as low as possible to make the vendors make as much money as possible. We used to have a big jockey lot bias. Well, we still have a big jockey lot bias. When it opened up years ago, it was all handcrafted. But unfortunately now what happened throughout the years is that you had somebody who would make knives by hand, and they'd go out there and they'd sell it for minimum $15 upwards, $50, $100 for a good knife. Well, then you had somebody that came in who was buying knives from China for $1, and they were selling for $2.50, and they put them right next to each other. And so he wouldn't, handcrafted person, sure, it was better quality, but it just wouldn't work out. And so what we do is we don't allow those types in the fair.
Okay.
And the very few that we allow into fair are themed to the fair. So like right now, we have some people who have corsets, which is very Renaissance period. But it takes a lot to get somebody who hand makes corsets in the fair. Traditionally, when you talk to those vendors, they're like, what's your gate count? And if your gate count's not high enough, they know statistically they won't make enough money, because they know what they'll make per person that walks through the gate.
So what is a typical gate count needed to get somebody like that?
So depending on how big you go, so if you go to some of the bigger vendors that like go to some of the largest fairs, traditionally they'd like to see a minimum of 10,000 people a season.
I see. So 1,000 people a day.
1,000 people a day minimum.
Got it. Okay.
And none of them are mean about it. They're all like, look,
it's business.
This is our statistics. Come back to us when you get to those numbers, and we'll sit down and discuss it. They're like, but that's where I'm at with it. And so that's what we work towards. It gives us a bench goal to go to.
Right.
And then if you have somebody who's like 50-50, so let's say I buy a generic box.
Okay.
From Hobby Lobby. Okay. I take it home, I paint it, I craft on it, put some designs on it, and then I sell it. It's roughly 50-50. The price for you to vend at the fair goes up 50%. So your fee is $450.
Got it.
Because you spent half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in very rare cases, if it is something that the fair won't have for a decent while, and we allow them to come in and they're all 100% just buy and sell, it's 100% markup. So they pay $600 to vend at the fair. And so we make it to where it's feasible for all people of all types. The higher the fee is, the more strict it is. And the more we need to see every item you sell. And then we'll tell you what you can sell and what you can't sell. A lot of these vendors too cross over. So a lot of them will sell some of the same stuff. And so on our applications, we tell people we already have somebody who's selling this. You can't sell that. You can sell everything else you have with the exception of that. And so it also gives them the opportunity to make as much money where we don't have 10 people selling the same thing.
Right.
To give them the best benefit to make as much money as possible.
Yeah. You don't want too many people selling the exact same item 2 booths down from one another.
Correct. And then as we grow as the fair, once the fair gets to 30-acre size, you can have 10 people selling the same stuff, but you can space them out enough that it doesn't really matter all that much.
Right.
And then we have food. So food right now we have it set up to where we have a couple food trucks. Eventually they'll be building places inside, which will be full facaded with kitchens in the back. But we have a couple. We have we have Cajun Joe's. He's got a custom made trailer, which it's almost all of it runs on pellets for smoking. And he makes us one of his the 2 biggest things he makes off the top of my head. One is smoked turkey legs, of course. You
gotta have the turkey legs.
Phenomenal turkey legs. And then we have him doing Scotch eggs. You have ever eaten a Scotch egg before?
Yeah.
So because we're in South Louisiana, we have a Cajun egg.
Okay.
So instead of breakfast sausage and a boiled egg deep fried, it is boudin.
Of course. Of course.
With an egg. And then this year we have his newest iteration of it is a Gator egg.
Oh.
Based on our own Beausoleil.
Absolutely.
It is smoked, wrapped in bacon, with pork rib steam, syrup, sausage, and the boiled egg. And then on top of it is hot honey.
I see Jay's mouth. Jay's mouth is watering over there. He's like, I'm going this weekend. That's the first thing I'm ordering.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see if you could get him to make it back here with one.
That's your task. Make it back
that
here.
That would be the test.
With the new eggs.
I don't think he'll make it.
he's going to get halfway back and just be like,
I think halfway down the Atchafalaya Basin, it's going to get devoured.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be sitting on that passenger seat.
Yeah, that's his reason for it. Yeah.
So he's already got the excuse planned.
Yeah. There was an accident. I was starving. I wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah, you don't understand, Patrick. I ran out of gas. I was stranded on the basin. I had to eat it. He's already got the text scheduled. I just saw him run it through. I'm gonna get it. I know it. He's just gonna be like, I liked Patrick on the way back, but. I remember something that made me mad. I'm just gonna eat it now. Send him an empty plate. Send him a picture of an empty plate.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's one iteration of it. This year we do have boiled crawfish out there as well.
Okay.
I hooked up with some of the local farmers, and they're crawfishing right now. So they come out, they boil crawfish as well, and then we have another food truck. Who works in tandem with several restaurants. He's a chef in Lafayette. And so he brings a little bit of each one out there. So we have stuff like pulled pork. He works for a pastry called Poo Parts. So he has pastries, he has pizzas. There's a host of things. And then on the far end, we have a guy who's local who does kettle corn.
Okay.
And so he makes kettle corn, and he also does jambalaya as well. And but as we move forward with the fair, so the tradition of Renaissance fairs is built off of monarchies. So almost every Renaissance fair you go to, there's going to be a king and a queen. Well, obviously not from here because we've never been a monarchy. And so what we've decided to do, completely different of fairs, is to build a true Acadiana Renaissance Fair based off of the melting pot that is Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to incorporate all the different cultures from all different walks of life from the time period that we're in moving forward. And so it's going to get to the point where you'll be able to you can go over there, you can hear Cajun French, and so we'll have themed weekends based off of how everything goes, but we'll also start building things historically accurate too. One of our good friends is a historian. He's also our lead in the pirate band, Under the Black, and he's a park ranger, but he's also a full historian. And so we, if I'm building anything on the property, I call him up. I'm like, hey, what would this look like in that period of time? And he'll tell me, and I'm like, okay. And so then I'll start to change it up to that point. And so right now where the fair is at is highly early on. So we don't get to do a lot of it just yet, because as we build into the fair, we'll have more areas to theme better. So right now it's a general feel of a Renaissance Fair, but as we move forward, it's going to start to really pull into those areas where you'll be able to see different walks of life, and we're gonna full theme it up with the foods, entertainments, everything. So you'll be able to come to Renaissance Fair in years to come, and you'll be able to walk in and get different food from different walks of life, all from Louisiana, at different points in time. One of the ones was crawfish, because he reached out to me and they're like, hey, I would like to do crawfish. I'm like, all right. It seems a little modern, but I've never really researched how far boiling crawfish goes back. And the period of time that we're traditionally in is 1600s, 1699, 1700s is where our time is at. And so I went and I researched it, and come to find out, boiling crawfish goes back to 1700s. It is based off of when the Acadians got kicked out of Canada. Okay. Which the basic story is that the Acadians didn't want to listen to Canadian rule, so they got deported.
That sounds nothing like Louisiana.
Yes, and so they basically immigrated into Louisiana. Okay, and so the thing about boiling crawfish goes back that far because in Canada they were boiling lobsters.
Makes sense.
And so bigger crawfish. When they got down here in Louisiana, the closest thing we got to lobster is crawfish. So they started boiling crawfish, and so it started in the 1700s, which works out phenomenally well for the fair because it's our period of time. Right. And so it's just one of those things where it's so cool to learn history as you go along, what fits, what doesn't fit, and really truly see how far back it goes. And so that's what we will strive to do, is that everything we build in the fair is to give the historically accurate persona of it, so that we can start integrating schools with our Renaissance Fair as well. I know most people around have been to a Renaissance Fair in Louisiana when they were a kid. When you go, it's a good time, it's fun, and you get to see a king, queen, and stuff like this built off of monarchies. But this will be the first Renaissance Fair that I've ever been to that is truly built off of something that is us. Yeah. So that's what we're striving for the fair moving forward.
So how do you maintain that time period without using any of the modernness that we're known today? So, I mean, like, if I'm thinking boiling crawfish, you're hearing that. You are. You're hearing that jet engine. You are.
So it's
do you go back and say you got to figure out how they did it in the 1700s and repeat that process, or are you allowing a little bit?
So the scenario is, think about Universal or Disney World. Mm-hmm. It's something similar where you put the people that you want into the ambiance of what you want them to feel, and you facade everything around it.
You're painting buildings blue over there?
Yeah. So you get to the point in the fair where everything is facaded to look Renaissance.
Right.
Behind it can be modern, but you can't hear or see it.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So my first upgrade to the property after we bought it was putting in 900 feet of conduit. That's underground electrical.
Right. Because
I don't want you to see power in the fair. And it costs 8 times more the price to do it, but it's just because as we grow the fair,
mm-hmm.
I want you to be in the ambiance of the fair, and so all of it will be facaded, and so you won't see it. It'll be there,
right?
And people that are using electricity, you won't see where it's plugged in. You won't even see that it's on. You'll just see.
They'll just be doing whatever it is that they're doing.
Correct.
Yeah. Kind of like what they live with out in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Very to the time.
Correct.
And people are there living it and using what was done at the time.
Correct.
But then behind it, you got everything. Everything that you need.
And it's kind of like that with a lot of the old plantation houses out here too. It's kind of something similar where they tore. They let you tour the bottoms of these houses, and the people who show them off live upstairs. And if you go around back where they don't allow you, you'll see window units popping out the roof. Where it's modernized.
My parents live on a plantation out in Sunshine, and it's everything's hidden behind gates, and it's all hidden.
Facade,
and you walk in, you're like, oh, it looks, we rebuilt the formal garden in the front to match the original 1800, design. But it's not.
And so it can be. It costs a little bit of money to do, but it's well worth it in the end for people to come in. So what I'm going to do to facade the property off is I'm going to build a specific type of bamboo called clumping bamboo, and it doesn't walk. It stays where it's at. It builds up 4 feet by 4 feet on the bottom. It goes, depending on the type, 12 feet tall to 20 feet tall. And so I'll plant them 3 feet apart from each other. They'll interlock, and you can't see through them. And so I'll plant them around the perimeter of the property and the perimeter of the fair. So, and then I'm going to build the gates tall. So when you drive in, it'll be to a world that is not your own.
Right.
And so it'll be like you stepping back in time, because once you get inside the fair, you can't see out of it.
Yeah.
And so everything inside of it will be designed to that period of time.
Except that Subaru running up and down the road.
Except the Subaru, yes. Except the Subaru.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreaux, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Hopefully by then we won't need the Subaru, but yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. That's the Disney magic, right?
That's correct.
You've got to get them in the space you want them to be and not be able to look around and see, you don't want to see that person doing something that,
Correct.
Someone's sitting there shooting a text message or something, and you're like, well, hang on, no, you can't, like, put it away.
My scenario with most of it is the scenario of, we're out in the field, and so we have campers and stuff like that, and somebody leaves their generator on. There's a generator in the background, because a lot of it is acoustic that we strive for. And so where we bought at, it's really quiet. My neighbor is a ways away, and even at night, there's no light pollution out there. It's dark, and so the stars are super pretty. The sunrises are beautiful. Sunsets are even prettier. So it's just, you really can step away from the world and not have to hear any noises. It's just super quiet, and so everything that is in there, is built there for a reason, so it's super cool. And it's all fenced in, as well. So for like families, they have young kids, and you go to a fair festival right now, you almost have to put your kids on a rope to stop them from walking. But where the fair is right now, we have so many families that come out, and they let their kids roam, because they can't get anywhere. The only way in and out is through the front entrance, and we have it manned at all times. So, yeah. And so we got we had little ditches cut for the rain. And, a couple of our patrons, a couple of our vendors took some little rubber duckies and they put them in the ditches. And so the kids walk around, the kids come in and they have the cutest little rubber boots on. And then, of course, they have little bridges to get over the ditches, but they don't like the bridges.
You got to walk through the water.
They walk in the water chasing the little duckies, because every time they step, it pushes the little rubber ducky further down. But no, it's a great time. I mean, we have it set where our entertainment pieces rotate on 30-minute schedules. So it's traditionally something always going on. We have a Mad Hatter tea party. There's very limited seating on those, and it fills up pretty fast. But it comes with treats, and you get to sample different types of teas. And it's all themed. And so it's phenomenal. We're gonna scale it up as we grow the fair. But it's a nice little event inside of the Renaissance Fair that we do. And as we grow, we're gonna have a couple more events that we'll add. But average people come for hours, and so they spend a day with us. We have full drinks, so we have all the Cokes, waters, and then we have an open bar as well. And then, of course, with every Renaissance Fair, you need mead, honey-based wine. So we hooked up with this year we hooked up with a meadery in West Monroe. We
have a meadery in West Monroe?
We have a meadery, yeah. It's the first meadery in Louisiana. It's called Two Warriors Meadery.
Okay.
It's veteran owned. Two retired veterans. Thought it was a good idea, and they did a really good job. And they have a couple that are dry. Most of them are sweet. There's the ones we have at the fair, there's hibiscus flavored one. We have a spiced flavored one. We have a blueberry lemon pie flavored one. And then we have two of our premiums. One's called the Bobby's Boucher. Boucher, of course, is always caramelized honey. So they spend upwards of 16 hours caramelizing honey in a crawfish pot.
Wow.
To make it. And then it sits for 6 months before they bottle it. And then the last one is the Dust Off. Dust Off is it was a sweet that is aged for a year in a whiskey bourbon barrel.
Okay. And
then they take it out, and it came out as a dry, but it's got that texture flavor to it. And so it rolls really well. A lot of people have never tasted mead in their life.
Yeah, I've never had it.
Whenever they come over to the fair, we let them sample it for free. And yeah, most of them will buy a bottle, and before they leave, they come buy another bottle to bring home with them. So yeah, it works out really well. But no, it's a fun event, very family oriented event. What I tell people is that, if you don't have any garb, is what the costume is called basically. If you don't have any garb or anything like that, feel free to come in your regular clothes. What we do is we consider you a time traveler.
Okay.
Basically time traveling back in time to experience the Renaissance. And so you show up in your regular clothes is fine. If you have kids and you don't have anything for them to dress up as, put them in a Halloween costume. Get one more use out of it again, So we always have a Sonic running around. We get all kinds of kid costumes, a Power Ranger.
My boy was Mater this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get, gives them some more. And then, everything for the most part is handcrafted. So like we have some leather vendors that make pouches, they make bags. You can get clothing, and so you can buy a piece once a year when you come. And then after a couple of years, you have a full outfit, So, I mean, we also have drinking horns, Viking horns. We have a vendor that does Viking horns out there where you can get your drinking horn, you get your drinking mug. You can get you, actual horns that you can blow in to get it to sound really well. If you're good enough.
Not everybody.
Some of them sound like they need to be put down. But no, it's a great time. It's a great fair. We're in the growth process of it, and yeah, it's really fun.
So y'all create this, and the first year or two you're in rented property, but then when y'all move and decide to purchase this property and start developing it out, I mean, did anybody have any type of like entrepreneurial experience, or was this like everybody's first foot in the door of like, hey, we're going to go invest some serious amount of capital to do this event? And like, we've got 2 years of success, went well, but like now we're going all in. I mean, because at that point, buying 100 acres is no small feat.
Yeah, it was quite the challenge, I guess. So for me, it's I guess it's a little different. So growing up, I cut grass and trees for 12 and a half years. We were homeschooled.
Same.
I was homeschooled after the 5th grade.
After third, I was homeschooled.
Yeah. So basically, we worked all day and we did schooling at and so I cut grass trees for 12 and a half years. So I in equipment, I'm one of 7 kids. So I'm the 4th, but we didn't ever call anybody to fix anything. We fixed it ourselves. So I can do plumbing, I can do woodwork, I can do electrical. After that, I worked on a farm for 2.5 years. We farmed 5,000 acres. And so I was running all the big equipment, all the tractors. The model of farming is that if you're not driving it, you're underneath it. Because something's broken. And so then, transition to fixing tractors, doing everything, running them, painting them, whatever it needs to do. And so I got my first office job after that for 8 months. And then now I'm in chemical sales, which I work for a car wash company. So I sell chemicals to other car washes. And so going into this, I already have the tools I know visually what I want it to look like, and working with my partner to get it to where we're both happy with it. And then after that, it's just slowly build one piece at a time, and then reach out to the people. Because going through that whole process, we developed land while I was farming as well. So I know what needs to be done to do it properly. But I also know I have the experience to know when I need to call somebody to do that work. And so that's what this past year I did. I called a contractor out who was an also farmer down the road, and he developed subdivisions on the side, and he had all the big equipment. And so I called him up. I said, this is what I have visual in mind that I want to do. What's your expertise opinion on that? And so he critiqued me a little bit based on his experience of designing subdivisions and stuff. And then we came to a conclusion, and we started working on that, but yeah, a lot of it's as far as like in this aspect, it's a learning curve, because it's at a greater scale than what I've done before. Because I mean, I've done woodworking, I've built little things here and there, but like my main entrance, we built a main entrance this past year in the off season, and it's my biggest structure so far that I've built, which it's 11 and a half feet tall, 8 feet deep, and it's 24 feet wide, and it's boxed in on both sides with 4 windows. And so, but I was building 16 by 16 decks. We're going to be building a bunch of those in the fair. My main stage is going to be 24 by 16 with a roof on it. I got to build that after this season's over with. So a lot of it's just Yeah, it's a learning curve, but it's just to a greater scale. So I'm a very numbers guy with statistics, and so as long as you know your basis and you can scale it up properly, and I have people around me that I can reach out to help out as well, which I do, if I need that. But yeah, it's just it is a massive learning curve. It really is. But if I get into a bind, I have enough people that I know that can support me to get to the point where I can get back to where I can keep going.
Right.
The main entrance was no different. When I was building it, I get to a certain point where you just have to have an extra pair of hands or two to get to a certain point. And so I have great friends around me that I can call up, and I'm like, hey, I could use an extra pair of hands, and they'll be like, all right, how's this day sound? I'm like, that's cool. They come out and we'll push it through, get to a point where I can go back to working it just myself, and then we just roll with it like that, so that's what it's been going forward. But as fair grows, this year was a lot of dirt work, so we can start building permanent structures. So we got a couple of places to add dirt here after all the rain we've been getting, and a couple of the ditches to dig. But after that, once that is solidified and good, it's gonna be rolling. We got eight or nine vendors this year that I've already talked to, and they're like, yeah, we want to start building our platforms to start building strucures.
So the vendors actually come out and suggest how to build their own structures there, or
So
how does that work?
So basically, it's like a it's a Renaissance HOA.
Even the Renaissance has an HOA.
Yeah. So basically, we for aesthetics and safety, we have a building code, and so nothing built super thin or anything like that, because you get to the point where you have thousands of people coming.
Right.
You don't want anybody falling through a deck or anything like that. So you set a building code. In most cases, just about everything is minimum 2x6 pressure treated, just to withstand whatever weight gets put on it. And so I give them the building code, and then they decide when they want to build it. And now once we get the initial deck style, is 16x16. Most of your tents are 12x12s, so it gives you a walking deck as well as a porch on the front. And we're working on incorporating ramps and stuff, so people that are wheelchair accessible and stuff like that can also come out to the fair in the near future. We do have some that come out to the fair now. On dry weekends, it's not too bad. If it's a little wet, it's a little difficult to get wheelchairs around just because of the soil. But we're working on that in the near future, where we can have that, where it'll be accessible to everybody. But once they get the decks and stuff built, and we start going up with the roof and the walls and stuff like that, then it'll be fun for them, where they can actually turn it into what they want it to be. They can paint it specific colors as to what they like. They can design windows however to shape and all this stuff. So it'll look very the same across the board for a couple years, and then a couple years after that, it's going to look all different. Everybody's going to put their little twist on their own building, and so you'll really get to see just different aspects. And then we started a little differently from most fairs. Most fairs start in the front. They build their front entrance. You walk through their front gate, and then they start building their structures. Foresight. The problem with that is that you want your front to be grand. Just like when you walk into Disney World, you want it to be grand. And so if you start in the front, you're susceptible to rebuilding, because one, it's really difficult to invest all the money into a front entrance when there's a lot of working points that need to be put in.
Right.
Two, your vendors who build a lot of the structures aren't willing to spend the kind of money at the fair not knowing the turnout. And so it takes years of investing into the fair for them to see, okay, I can make enough money that warrants me building a booth now. So instead of doing what most people do with Renaissance fairs, I flipped it, and we started in the back of the fair. And so I built a main entrance, which is a temporary entrance. And so we're building the back of the fair right now. And then everybody who builds a structure in the back of the fair, they're promised to have a prominent spot in the front of the fair when we get to it. And so as we move to the front of the fair, when we get towards the center, it's going to be a pretty healthy fair. We have a lot of patrons. People will start building bigger structures, some 2-story structures. And then as we move closer to the front of the fair, we will have the capital to come in and build a grand entrance. And then we can have the prominent ones in the front of big 2-story structures moving forward. So it's a little backwards. It's a little twisty. But also what it does allow me to do too is that the back of the fair where we're at currently right now is built kind of symmetrical to a rectangle for the most part, but it allows me to open it up for venue access. So like we do a pumpkin patch in the fall. That's simple. I have it all set up where I can just say, hey, somebody wants to do an outdoor music festival, any outdoor festival, and I have it all in written that if they build structures on the property, we can use them for the other. I can rent them out and use them for the other venues. So it's a multifaceted venue space.
Yeah.
Because once it's being built pretty well, it's going to be a unique venue space that can be accessible to thousands of people. And really and truly, you don't have venues that are built that way anywhere around, unless like the Cajun Dome, Superdome, stuff like that, where you have that amount of parking that you can just throw people. But then you have to contend with indoor arenas and all this stuff where we can do like a massive music festival, and then I have all the supporting structure for it. So it's super easy where I can just be like, all right, look, I got a music festival we're going to be having for a person who's calling me up, and he's like, all right, I'm estimating 5,000 people. I'm like, all right, hang on. I got a guy who has all the portalettes. I got a guy who has the ice traders. I got a guy who has the roll-offs. I got a guy who has the ATMs. I got a guy who has all the food.
Yeah, now you've got an event machine.
Correct.
Already in place in a 100-acre parcel to do the events on.
Correct.
So you initiated everything through this Renaissance Festival. It's like that's our keystone.
Correct.
That's our keystone event. But now let's just start. Yep. Let's start getting it so it's property being used year round.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's that part of the economics and that part of the business development side of it to me is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Where it's like, let's get something that's going to easily draw people in, that people already know. We don't have to make this event that's all new and like, oh yeah, let me sell you on the newness of this. Is like, let's get something that's been a track of success that people know about, and let's just implement that on the space and slowly over time build it out.
Correct.
To where it can be something insane.
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy to use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
Yeah, and so the very front part of the property is going to be a 10 to 15 acre permanent RV campground.
Okay.
So that'll be open all year round. And what I'll do is I'll blacklist the dates for Renaissance Fair, so it cleans out, and then we'll offer it to the Renaissance Fair guys first. Let them come in, people that are coming out of state, stuff like that, they'll get first dibs. And then I'll open it up to anybody around that wants to camp during the Renaissance Fair. We'll have primitive and we'll have permanent. But it all plays along to it, because you have, when you have venues and stuff like that you do like a weekend something, I could just blacklist it and offer it up for camping as well. So I'm setting it up to where it's going to be very unique. And I know many affairs and festivals that go on that are outside, that are so close to the edge of space that there's just nothing around that can hold what they need. And so they instead of building their event to further scale, they sell it out because they just can't fit any more people, And so it's going to be very interesting to walk up to those types of people and be like, I have something that can hold what you want, and then offer it to them to just do what they want, So that's what I'm looking forward to, as well as building it as a venue, as it goes. So, yeah.
So what would you say to people that are, hearing this and like what they want to know kind of what to expect going for their first time? What should they do? I mean, you kind of mentioned a little about getting kids dressed up and just coming out as a time traveler, but like going there, what can they expect to see with their family, for example?
Yeah. So walking through the process, basically you would come out, you would park, you'd walk to the main gate, buy your tickets. If you'd like to do tea time or another event, you'd buy that at the main gate. You'd walk in. This year we have a bit over 40 vendors out there that are lined up all along the outside edge. And so you would walk in, start going vendor to vendor. In the corners we have entertainment pieces. We have belly dancers out there as well. In the center we have you'll see a lot of ropes set up. One of them is called Sword Masters Challenge. So if you're not familiar with the term LARP stands for live action role play. And so you basically have a styrofoam sword that you beat your friend with. And so we actually got a vendor / entertainer piece this year, and it's called Sword Masters Challenge. And so you can there's 3 different packages based on how bad you want to hurt your friend, basically, safely.
Right. After the waivers are signed.
Yeah. And so it's all foam weapons, but really good foam weapons, and based on how much you spend, based on the weapons you get. So if you spend I think it's like $7, you get your normal styrofoam sword pole and stuff.
Yeah, like a pool noodle.
Yeah, if you go up to $12, you can get shields with weapons. And then if you go up to the max one, I think it's $20, you get full 2-handed weapons with great shields. Yeah, and then they put you in an arena, tell you the rules you have, which aren't many. And then you go to town on whoever it is you want to. And if you're by yourself and you still want to have it, they have guys out there they'll spar with you as well. So that's that aspect. On the other side of them, we have a fencing organization which are doing fencing. Several of them are part of the SCA, which is a group that does reenactments, historically accurate reenactments to the T, all around the United States. In the future, we're going to be working on a couple other things for combative style stuff. So that's down the pipeline. But yeah, so you come in, you walk around, on one side, on the other side of the tree line, there's a whole designated design, ferry area as well. My wife designed all that. So you can go in, she's got different ferry houses, so you can take pictures with, all the different seasons. And of course, in the far corners, again, Renaissance Fair, we have axe throwing, spear throwing, and archery. It's something a little unique this year too. I didn't realize it until the other day. I was walking through. We have a unique little game that is throwing stuffed rats with a stick. And apparently it's a sport I had never heard of before.
Throwing stuffed rats with a stick.
Yes, it's a.
So assuming back in the day they're throwing dead rats.
Yeah, I would assume. And so it's all set up with targets and stuff, and so you have to fling them through the target, and kids have a blast with it. And we also do have kids games as well out there for them to do. We have a kids quest. So if you have children with you and they want something to do, you can go down and there's a kids quest you can pick up free of charge. They all get prizes at the end of it, and then it just takes them through different parts of the fair that they have to find hidden things along the way. And if they find them and check them off and get their little stamps for them, at the end of it, they get prizes for it. So it's an all around family event for sure.
Yeah, so long as they can go home with a rat on a stick, I'm good with it.
Yeah, they can.
And that's one of the prizes.
I have one sitting at my house currently right now because my wife needed a custom one apparently. Yeah. And she named it already too, unfortunately, so I can't get rid of it.
Oh yeah, now you're stuck. You're stuck with it forever.
Yeah, I'm stuck with it.
Now you just soon put that like as your antenna on your Subaru.
Yeah, it's
going to be a part of you.
Yeah. Can't even do anything with it. So fun times.
So what are the dates it's running this year for 25? I think we have a few more dates, right?
Yeah, so we have 2 more weekends.
Okay.
This coming weekend and next. It ends February 16th. The February 16th weekend it ends. So this coming weekend and next coming weekend, we run for 5 consecutive weekends a year. So traditionally with our Renaissance Fair, what we do, because it's such a popular thing out here with Mardi Gras, is we try not to go against it. So
yeah, you don't.
We always traditionally finish the weekend before Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
This year's a little different because Mardi Gras is so late.
Yeah, March, like weekend of March 1st.
Yeah, and so our vendors have to go to the next Renaissance Fair in March. So we backed off of Mardi Gras an additional week this year. So instead of going up to Mardi Gras, we finished 2 weeks before Mardi Gras this year. But yeah, it's consecutive, 5 consecutive weekends every year. The times that we run on Saturdays is 10 to 5:30, and on Sundays is 10 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. It's 10 to 5 on the weekends.
The reason for that is the 30 minutes, the 5:30 we have only on Saturdays, right at close, is a fire show.
Ooh.
We do. We have some entertainers that do a very elaborate fire show. It's really good. And so we allow them the additional 30 minutes of time so people can sit down and watch the fire show before they leave.
I love that.
We also do have opening cannon and after the closing cannon as well. So there is cannon fire on the property.
I'm in. You got cannon fire. I'm in.
Yeah, we have cannon fire. So one blunderbuss as well, black powder. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's like full on developed at this rate. And so, how many? You said 30 acres was the goal. What are y'all at right now?
Everything that sits right now, I'd say with parking, we're probably evenly split 5 and 5. It's roughly 10, 12 acres is what we have just about right now.
Okay.
So it's a big work in progress. I mean, it takes time to develop, but we're moving now that we've done the dirt work. This will be the first. So last year we had to wait for everything to dry up to do the dirt work. Then we caught rain through the summer to let it dry to finish. So now that most of the dirt work's done, we can start at an expanded pace. Now that the infrastructure is done, so we'll be starting to open up new areas and stuff like that and start working on that. But because it's built modular, mm-hmm. So I can have the fair where we're at now running, do the updates and the adjustments to it, and then have that set to go. And then while everybody is enjoying that part of fair, I can be working on the next phase. And so unlike when we started here, where it was just really rough, really hard to deal with, I can have that second phase perfect
mm-hmm.
before I open it. And as soon as I open it, it's ready. It's good to go. I don't have to fight mud, water issues, all that stuff. So it just takes us a little bit of time. Not only that, we're trying to keep it more homey as well. We've had investors that have called us up and was like, it's a good idea. We think it's going to do really well. we like you to, we like to invest in the fair and stuff like that. And for them, we really turn them down because we're like, we want to keep it. We don't want to commercialize it. We want it to be fun, to be a home fair. Sure, it's going to take us a little bit more time because we have to build it ourselves with our own money. But both me and my partner have well-paying jobs, so we're not doing it really and truly for money. We're doing it to give back to the community for a good part. And eventually I'm going to have to do it full time because it's going to take all year to do the upgrades, to keep everything up. But for right now, every penny that it makes goes right back into it. For instance, opening weekend and the second weekend, our biggest complaint out there was that there wasn't enough seating. That was our biggest complaint. So last Friday, I went to Lowe's, picked up a bunch of 2x6s, ran to a friend's house because he just bought a brand new chop saw, and I was like, let's break this thing in. And so we came up with the pattern for the benches, and we started chopping. And between 8 o'clock at night and midnight, we built 17 benches. And Saturday morning, I brought them out to the fair and started throwing them out because we had hay bales. And so we built 17 benches like that, but it's a growth process,
right?
So we're not opposed to hearing what everybody's concerns are. And that was really the only one, was that we'd like to see more seating done, and so as we build and as we grow, my goal for all of it is that I want everybody to see a minimum of 3 to 5 things that I have done through the season in between, where you can see where your money's going without me having to tell you. That's the goal for me. Like, I don't want to have to walk up to you and say, we had a good season last year. We put it here, here, and here. I want you to drive down the parking lot and be like, wow, I see it.
When it also gets people coming back year over year.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come out and it's all this, everything's done and it's perfect in year one, you're like, hey, great, I did it. It was fun.
Yeah.
All this and that. But now you're like, what's gonna be new this year?
Yeah.
What new vendors are they gonna have this year? How is it gonna be expanded this year? What will they have done?
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps people excited year over year.
There was so much that was done this year with the dirt work, with building the main entrance, building a new main stage, putting fences up, pulling tree lines out completely. I mean, it's massively different just from year 1 to year 2. And so for year 3, I'm looking to kind of do the same thing, where we can really just push it through and people really just start seeing it popping, and we got great local support, great people around that are coming out and they're like, man, this is amazing.
It's good.
And they commend us on it, and they come back every year, and they tell us, come back next week, so it's a fun thing. Yeah.
I love that, man. Well, look, before we get you out of here, we do ask every guest the same set of questions at the end.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Oh, man. Man, the first thing that came to mind initially was take a nap.
I think we all wish we could do that still. A good old afternoon nap, I get jealous of my boy putting him down. I'm like, man, I wish I could just go lay.
You fought that in kindergarten with your little Matt. I don't want to go to sleep, and then now you want to go back to sleep. I'm trying to think. Something I did as a kid that I wish I could do now.
I mean, look, I think nap's perfect.
Yeah. That's simplistic. I mean, I don't know. It seemed as a kid, life was so simplistic growing up. The world's changed so fast. Yeah.
You didn't have 100 acres to deal with.
Yeah. But I mean, as you grow older, time goes faster. If there was a wish, I guess if there was a wish that I could have if I was a kid, would be that the days would last as long as they did back then. Because it just goes by so fast. Yeah. It really does.
It's the days are long, the years are short.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah.
So in doing this and kind of learning each year with growth, what are like 3 lessons you've kind of learned so far?
3 lessons. So Renaissance Fair, like most businesses, are customer based. And so you patience is key, massively. Patience is key. And I have a lot of patience. And there's still times to this day where I catch myself where something happens and your head goes straight to a solution or something to say, but your experience or your wisdom stops you from saying it for a split second, and they respond, and you really would have messed the situation up a lot. And so for me, a lot is patience. It's assess really well at least 2 times before you say anything. Being sincere, keeping your word is another thing. It's not something that happens much these days anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. Unfortunately, your word these days doesn't carry nearly the weight it used to growing up. And so I try and make it a point that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it done. Is 2 of them. Keep track of time. Set your alarm, set your appointments, figure out what it is that you need to do to keep yourself on time, because it's massive. In today's world with technology, you get so sidetracked so fast that you lose so many hours in a day. I think the biggest surprise that most people would get is if they would go on their phone, because your phone tracks it, and you take how much time you spent on your phone in a day, and you times that by 365, and you realize how many days you lost in a year on your phone.
It's massive.
It's huge. Yeah. In some cases, you can contribute it to 1/5 of your life.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy to me.
It's only going up.
Yeah. And we don't live for that long anyway. You know,
we don't increase our lifespan in proportion to the increased amount of screen time.
Yep. Correct.
You know, so you're not gaining anything.
No. This is all loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that way of, putting it in perspective.
Yeah.
So, man, what is something you love about Louisiana?
Culture over anything. I tell people a lot. Yeah, I mean, even though we're not that far apart, I'm roughly an hour north of Baton Rouge here. Even still, our culture is different. It's so vast. I get people from all over that, they talk about New Orleans and all that. And I'm like, it's so different. I don't know what it is other than that it's just home. Mm-hmm. Like it's I've traveled all over multiple states, all in different states. I mean, even Louisiana. I mean, I can go an hour north of us and it's different too. But I feel like the Lafayette Acadiana area is just so welcoming to anybody. We have great food. Some say the best. Great food, great culture, great people. It's part of the reason why I when they asked me to be a part, I couldn't say no.
Right.
Because we have all of the pieces to make it great. We really do. And so, I look, I'm on the road a lot with sales, and I talk to people that come into the state, go out the state. One of the last people that I can bring back to memory is at one of my rental car locations. I was talking to her and she was dropping off the car, and I'll strike up a conversation with her, ask her how it was, and where she was going home to, and she was going back to Arizona. And so, how'd you like to stay? She says, I love it. She says, out here is so amazing. You can talk to anybody. She says, I can't do that at home. We can barely wave at anybody at home. Mm-hmm. She says, out here, it's just so nice. Everybody can strike up a conversation with you. Actually, how you doing? She said, so and that's what I feel, and when people come, even our vendors that come to our Renaissance fairs, because we're fairly new, and some of them have a higher margin, they like to meet for Renaissance fairs to make their money. And right. We have a couple of them. They're like, I understand that this fair is new and we're not going to make a killing, but if I break even, it's good enough for me, because it's so much fun to come to this fair versus all the other ones on the circuit. It's worth it.
Right.
And so that's what I love about the area. I love about the state, is that it's just home,
Yeah. I mean, you're not kidding. It's like we can sit in any shared experience, whether we're sitting in line at a grocery store, sitting, out at a park or at an outdoor venue or festival, and your person next to you, it's like almost human nature, or at least it feels like here, for us to look over and go, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so, introduce yourself. Yeah. And then you start hitting off and have a conversation. I mean, it happens every time I bring my kids to the park or something. I end up talking to one of the other parents, and turns out we know like so many other people,
It's a small world.
I'm sure Lafayette's the same way in Baton Rouge to that regard, where it's like, I can get in touch of anybody I need to with two people, with two connections, if not one connection.
That's right.
And it's crazy how we can do that and yet still be so just this melting pot of a variety of people.
Correct.
Like everybody's got all these different backgrounds. We all are of different history and everything. And it's just fascinating to see that we can all still sit next to each other and say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so.
And what's so great about it too, is that you don't realize how different it is until you go out of state and you go to some of these places where, sure, it's nice, it's beautiful,
right?
But you try and strike up a conversation, and it's just not there. Like it's like you wave to people, they don't wave back. You tell people hi, and it's just like holding the door open for somebody.
Don't do that.
It's like it's so interesting how little distance you need to travel for everything to be different, And so with us having traveled so much, we realized that, and it's just like, I'm ready to go home. I love home,
Yeah, get back to what you know. I mean, it's so true. It's so vastly different than when people come here. They're like, "What? I mean, you just walk down the street and you just met that person up, and then you end up having like going out for drinks after like 5 minutes of conversation." It's like, yeah, that happens. Yeah. That's commonplace, and it's so easy to strike up a conversation. And when you're out of the state and you end up talking with people and striking up a conversation, you find out they're from Louisiana.
Yep.
It's like without a doubt.
One of my funnest things with the vendors when they come from out of state and stuff like that, they'll go, how far is the closest store? And we're like, it's about 5 minutes. How many miles is that? I don't know. It's 5 minutes. It's
just 5 minutes away.
So it's like, are you that you tell them to go somewhere, and you're like, look, when you get to a blue house, you hang a right. Mm-hmm. What highway is that? I don't know. Just when you get to the blue house, you hang a right.
The blue house is the highway. That's the marker. That's what we go with.
And they're like, but I need to know the highway because I'm on GPS. I'm like, no, it's fine. Just look for the blue house.
Forget the GPS. Siri doesn't know where you are. Alexa doesn't know where you are. It's just find the blue house and take a right.
Yeah, but no, it's great. It really is. It really is great. It really is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
So what we found out in our business model where we're at, because it is based on customer service and people, our goal this year, our goal was to try and get some outreach as much as possible. So to get in front of as many people as possible. So like we did radio this year. Obviously our marketing budget's limited. Mm-hmm. But we encourage we encourage anybody that is social media influencer or anything like that to get in touch with us, and we have many of them that came out. We got them tickets because it's all about outreach. It's where we're at in this point in time in the game, and we were pretty successful at what we got. We've been building our social media page up. I think before this season we were at like 3.4 on Facebook. Now we're at 5.5. So slowly but surely, it's just community outreach. We're trying to get out and do as much as possible. We have flyers that we've been putting out. Billboards are a bit expensive, so
a little pricey.
We're going to look at that in the near future of doing some billboards. I did digital with a grant one year, and it brought a lot of clicks, but not a lot of people showed up. So we tried radio this year, and it was a bit more successful. But new age technology, dude, podcast, social media, YouTube. We're really trying to get a hold of younger crowds that do podcasts and stuff like that, such as this, where we try to get as broad of a reach as possible.
Right.
So stuff like this benefits us quite a bit, and we're not opposed to put some signage up or some little things up at the fair to let people know you can find us on these sites to get them, more viewers as well.
Right.
Try and help out each other as we grow. I know we've done that in the past where, like this podcast where we as soon as it's posted, we tag it, we share it as much as possible to get it out and help each other. That's what I love about the state. And there's a lot of it going on that you don't see anywhere else.
Yeah. We're trying to do what we can to, y'all are preserving the culture and the history of what we got in the state. And it's like, now we got to do what we can to promote it and get it out there for people to come and see it in person.
Correct. And we slowly getting to the point where we're going to start doing I think in a year or two, we'll probably start doing like a Friday so we can start giving the schools accessibility for field trips.
There you
go. So that we can start pulling in more families, and it's going to be historically accurate. So it can also be taught as a history lesson too, versus most fairs. Most fairs aren't. They're historically accurate to a monarchy that is not of of what we are, So
right.
Sure it is historically accurate to overseas, but to have something who is historically accurate to the state and culture that you live in is something completely different.
Yeah, and you're one of the few that are there preserving it and having people kind of come live it.
Correct.
And it really experience it in a new light rather than just walking through a building with pictures on the wall.
Correct.
They're actually going to be immersed.
Yeah, it's very hands-on. So it'll hold their attention, because I know pictures didn't hold my attention when I was that age. So
yeah, the pictures and even the little earbuds over to listen to the movies to watch is like, no. But if you're out there living it for the day, like you really get more out of it.
Yeah, you'll remember it for a while.
Oh yeah,
So, but yeah, fun times.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming all this way, crossing the mighty bridge.
Thank you for having me.
That was frozen a couple weeks ago. No one getting across it.
We got down to 1 degree at the house. 1 degree.
We never saw 1 degree.
Yeah.
We had about 9 inches of snow.
Yeah.
But not 1 degree.
We had right at 12.
Holy
The town
smokes.
over had 13 and a half. And I went pick up some gumbo at Mom's house. She made a big gumbo. And I was coming home close to midnight on Wednesday, I believe. And it was 4 degrees when we left her house. And then, a couple hours later, we got down to 1 by the house. Yeah.
That's cold.
It's so interesting because we went from the hottest year on record the year before to the coldest year on record. We broke temperatures by the house that went back to 1899.
They were trying to get you really back to what the Renaissance was.
Yeah.
Like, not only are you going to live it, you're going to feel the temperature of what it was.
It was, it was definitely interesting, for sure. Something that, because what was so unique about it was that we have northern vendors from the northern circuit that come down to escape the snow. And And so they came down here to escape the snow. They caught more snow here than they caught at their house.
They're like, this is not the way this is supposed to work. If I go south, it's supposed to have no snow.
But yeah, so it was fun. Yeah. I almost got a little wet coming up here because I came on the bike today, and I got into Baton Rouge and it started to drizzle a little bit. I'm like, oh, hold off a little bit longer. So, but no, it was a great trip, and yeah, I don't mind coming out at all. We really appreciate y'all having us for sure.
Absolutely, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
Love the stories, and I'm excited to see what Jay's going to bring me back from this weekend.
I don't think it's going to be much.
Yeah, it's not going to be much.
Yeah, it might be some meat. I think he can get back here with some meat, but man, that cooking, I don't know. It's gonna be maybe if you give him like a lockbox.
No, look, I'm already accepting it. The best I'm gonna get is gonna be just a picture of food, a picture of him eating food. That's all I'm getting. I'm just getting photographic evidence that it was a good time.
I think
it was delicious.
I think he's capable of sending you a video of him eating said food.
Oh yeah, a video for sure. But no. Yeah. He'll send a video, but no actual tangible products will make it back to Baton Rouge in Jay's car. That's gone. That's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it just means you have to come out yourself.
That's it. We'll have to come out, bring the family. My boy will love throwing some rats.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's well worth the drive. We had, like I said, we've had people from Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas come, many from New Orleans come, from all over, and they thoroughly enjoy it. Really, really enjoy it. So, but yeah, it's just a fun, family friendly event.
Well, good deal. We'll have to make it out there and really get to experience and see what we can bring back, if we can make anything back in the car.
Yeah, I challenge you. That's a challenge.
I love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Problem.
And I thank you, everybody else, for consuming and watching the show. If you don't have tickets yet for this year, try to get some. Are y'all all sold out?
We're not all sold out. No,
okay.
You can find our tickets on AcadianaRenaissanceFair.com. We also have tickets for sale at the gate, so you can just show up and buy them. We have ATM on site as well, and we accept cash and card.
Perfect. So y'all heard it there. Get on out to the Acadiana Renaissance Festival and tell them you heard about them on the Patty G Show, and just go back, step in time, live out what they were doing back then, and get you some good food. This is Patty G, host of the Patty G Show. We'll be back next week.